Florida is launching an investigation into OpenAI. Meanwhile, OpenAI is backing an Illinois state AI bill that will shield AI labs from liability for critical harms caused by their AI models. Now, you might be wondering, what is Florida suing OpenAI over? Attorney General of Florida says OpenAI's GPT, the crown jewel, has been involved in criminal activity. So it kind of makes sense that they are backing this AI bill out of Illinois that will shield them from liability or critical harm caused by their AI models. Let's talk about it. OpenAI is looking to shield themselves from anybody using their GPT models that find themselves responsible or indirectly linked to deaths or financial disasters. Florida Attorney General James Othmeier is launching an investigation into OpenAI over public safety and national security risks, as reported earlier by Reuters. In a statement on Thursday, Othmeier said that there are concerns that OpenAI's data technology are falling into the hands of America's enemies, such as the Chinese Communist Party. This should make you scratch your head, but I do think it's really important who writes these laws. We can't let bad dudes like the Attorney General of Florida write the laws even, I'd argue. Big government has historically not held any big tech company actually accountable. Before we jump into the article, we can take a look at Facebook as an example of how big tech has always gone unchecked. The government historically, even on a state level, has never truly held big tech accountable. They're too big, they are too powerful, they have too much capital and influence. The government never checked Facebook. They didn't care to break up Meta in any capacity, but now we all have to deal with this age verification. You can look at that and say that is a good form of regulation. In some extent, sure, it is a band-aid solution. It can work for some cases. However, when you look a little bit closer at the policy, Facebook wrote the age verification laws. So while they're collecting additional data, they do get this facade of, well, we have this regulation now. And yeah, an argument can be made that any regulation is better than no regulation, because then we get stories like this, where we have big tech companies like Sam Altman's OpenAI trying to, get a pre-pardon before he gets arrested. Because that's essentially what this is that's happening in Illinois. The Attorney General of Florida obviously is politically motivated here and has a very myopic scope on what he's looking to get past as relates to safeguards on OpenAI. And all of this is happening while OpenAI is cozying up to the regime, trying to get those contracts that'll give them more power, more influence, more capital. Simultaneously taking place with them also trying to IPO, become a public offering to make more money at the behest of shareholders. So this is a recipe for disaster. Let's take a look at the quote in context. This is what he said.
I'm Attorney General James Othmeier. Today we are launching an investigation into OpenAI. The development and rollout of artificial intelligence is a monumental leap in technology, but it has not been without concern for public safety and national security. AI is built on its ability to gather data, and there are concerns about whether OpenAI's data and AI technologies that could be used against America are falling into the hands of America's enemies, such as the Chinese Communist Party. OpenAI's chatgpt has also been linked to criminal behavior, including child abuse material, use by child predators, and the encouragement of suicide and self-harm. We've also learned that chatgpt may likely have been used to assist the murderer in the recent mass school shooting at Florida State University that tragically took 2 lives. AI should exist to supplement, support, and advance mankind, not lead to an existential crisis or our ultimate demise. As big tech rolls out these technologies, they should not, they cannot put our safety and security at risk. We support innovation, but that doesn't give any company the right to endanger our children, facilitate criminal activity, empower America's enemies, or threaten our national security. Companies that do so will be held accountable to the fullest extent. Today, we formally launch an investigation into OpenAI, and subpoenas are forthcoming.
Now, regardless of where you fall on this argument, is it the parents' fault? Is it the tool of AI's fault? Is it the company that created these tools and put it in the hands of consumers' faults? Wherever you fall on that, we can all agree on one thing, that AI needs to have safeguards. That is point blank, I think, the point. But companies like OpenAI are doing everything in their power to avoid taking any kind of responsibility. Othmeier also says that OpenAI's ChatGPT has been, quote, linked to criminal behavior related to children's abuse material and the encouragement of self-harm. He adds that the ChatGPT may have been used to, quote, assist a person suspected of carrying out a shooting at Florida State University in April of 2025. This week, the family of a man killed during the FSU shooting filed a lawsuit against OpenAI, accusing the suspect of being in, quote, constant communication with ChatGPT. This is bad. It's one of those situations we need to step back and say, do the ends justify the means? These are bad outcomes. The article does continue. OpenAI is expected to launch an initial public offering this year and is facing scrutiny from regulators over how it handles child safety. Last October, the Federal Trade Commission ordered OpenAI and other tech giants to hand over information about how they assess the effects of their chatbots on kids. And those tools that give them essentially unfettered access to some of the strongest technology on Earth. Policy and safeguards are crucial. And at the top, I mentioned Sam Altman is doing everything in his power to leverage OpenAI's capital, power, and influence to make sure these safeguards, these policies, these laws are not passed. That's a problem. And OpenAI is still seeking to make a public offering despite all of this chaos happening in the background. If you missed my last video on OpenAI, I sort of unpacked a lot of different chaos and different ongoings that is occurring internally and externally in OpenAI right now, including them killing Sora, blocking legislation, and a bunch of internal shakeups. All of this to say is that OpenAI is going way out of their way here to protect themselves against the harm they create. And that's the problem. That's why I think OpenAI is either going to become the ultimate villain of the world at this rate with the amount of capital, power, and influence they seem to be accumulating here, and the shields they just seem to keep putting up that bar them from any accountability. Or, I think, OpenAI could perish under the weight of their own mistakes.
There's at least a group of loud people online who really don't trust the government to follow the law. And that feels like a very bad sign for our democracy. This is like a time where people are looking at things happening and saying, I don't feel good about it. And maybe this is such a uniquely bad time that like companies' patriotic duty is not to support not to work with the government. I totally disagree on that. If we don't help the government with national security, and it's not just wars in the traditional sense, if we don't help them with, defending the cyber infrastructure of the US, if we don't help them with the biodefense we were talking about earlier, I think it's really bad. I think we have to work with the government, but the intensity of the current mood of mistrust, I was miscalibrated on.
Let me know what you think about all of this in the comments. And until next time, I'm V. Bye.